Why is this so fun? And why can't I stop? Let me show you the easiest, most addictive ink technique I've ever found. Let's get crafting. I am beginning my project with some very basic supplies: an acrylic block, a ruler, some ink, cardstock, and a paper towel. For demonstration purposes, I filled a small bowl with some water. You can certainly use your sink, or you can use a baby wipe if that's what you've got. I've just saturated my paper towel, wrung it out really well so that it's just wet, and then I'm going to go ahead and unfold it and put it down flat on my glass board. And now I'm just going to roll up my ruler into the paper towel. Pretty simple. The wetness from the paper towel causes it to adhere to the ruler, so no additional supplies there. I'm going to be creating my backgrounds with some inks. Now, I love my Distress Oxide, so that's what I've chosen. That one was Barn Door. I'm going to follow that up with a line of Squeezed Lemonade and followed by Mowed Lawn. Now, you can use any type of ink that you want. I just happen to like the vibrancy and the opacity of Distress Oxides. Now, I've laid them all in a line, and then I'm going to take the edge of my ruler and dip it into the ink. Now, I'm not going to mix them. I want to make sure I keep my ruler lined up to where the ink is on my acrylic block. If you don't have an acrylic block, you can certainly use your glass mat. But that's what I had, so that's what I use. And now I'm just going to lay that up against my card and drag it across the cardstock. And when I don't get the desired effect, I just keep going back over it until it is as dark as I want. Now you see that red and yellow are making that beautiful orange in between, and then I've got that kind of limey color green, and I'm just fighting with it where I want to make it go on the cardstock. I should have left the cardstock a little larger, but I do cut these down to 4 panels for my 8.5 by 11-inch sheet, so each card panel is 5.5 by 4.25 inches, and I'm just filling it in. Now I'm calling this the dip and drag technique, and that reminds me of fruit stripe gum, and that's why I chose the colors. When choosing colors, make sure that they make sense and that they kind of go together. You don't want to create mud on your cardstock unless that's your desired effect. I'm just reapplying my inks, and I found that I had a little bit too little. And I'm using the same paper towel. I'm just reapplying my ink. Now this time, new cardstock, I am going to swipe sideways, diagonal. And look at how pretty that is, y'all. I'm telling you, my inspiration was fruit stripe gum. So I saw something on YouTube from an old commercial, and that's exactly where I got my color scheme from. So anyway, use whatever moves you. Use the colors that you enjoy most. Flip it around. Cover up your cardstock as best you can. But most importantly, just have fun with it. And if you create something that you're not particularly fond of, don't get rid of it. I'm going to give you some examples of things that you can do with backgrounds that you're not in love with, that you want to use as a background. Hey y'all, I'm Wendy from Village Card and Craft, and I want to thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with me today. If you're finding value or enjoyment from the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and hitting the subscribe button. I'd love to have you be a part of the Village Card and Craft community. The next example, I've added more ink to my acrylic block using the same piece of paper towel, and this time I'm just going to lay lines on a diagonal. If you choose to lay lines straight up vertical and horizontal, you might see where it's not precise, but it's kind of a trick of the eye. If you do diagonals, you don't tend to notice if there's a mistake. And I'm just trucking right along here. I really didn't think about it, but I absolutely love it. Now you can use whatever inks you have. Now I have switched to Distress Dye inks. I'm going to use a new paper towel. Obviously I'm using a different type of ink and different colors. So I'm using a new paper towel. And I have selected Villainous Potion, delicious color, Picked Raspberry, and Salty Ocean for this one. Now the Distress Dye inks are a little bit different. First of all, they're more transparent, and they also come in a glass bottle with a dropper instead of a little squeezy bottle. So I'm just going to apply it the exact same way. I think that's the Villainous Potion. And then I'm going to finish that up with some Picked Raspberry. See that little glass tube? Now, I can't speak for any other types of dye inks. I might have one or two that are from Simon Hurley, but I don't use those very often. So I think that those are in a plastic bottle. But use whatever you've got. It's perfectly fine. I didn't get the kind of coverage I wanted, and I wasn't quite sure what to expect with a different formula of ink. So I'm doing the same thing. I've wrapped up my ruler and I've dumped my ink in, dumped the ruler into the ink. Now I'm trying to decide just what I'm going to do here. I think I'm going to try like a windshield wiper. Yeah, I didn't quite get the coverage that I was looking for. I was looking for more of a rainbow effect. But remember what I said a little while ago, that if you come up with something that you're not particularly fond of, don't get rid of it. This is one of those. It's okay. I'm sure I could come up with something. It just, I don't know. I'm just not a person who's very fond of dye ink, and I think that that's probably why. I really like my hybrid distress oxides, but you can do whatever you want to do with your project. The real goal here is not about making cards. The goal is about making art and having fun with the technique. And if you don't like what you make out of it, it's still okay, because there are other things that you can do with it. You guys have got a ton of supplies out there. You can make this work. Now this one works better for me because I wasn't messing around with a swipey motion. But do you see how dark that Villainous Potion is getting because I keep swiping over it? It doesn't matter. It's going to work out just fine in the wash. I had so much fun. Look at all of the backgrounds I created. And we're going to turn some of these into cards and some into other things as well. So I got my first ever cards in the mail for Village Card and Craft, and I want to thank the 3 lovely people who sent me this wonderful treat of sharing their art with me. And I want to share it with you because it truly is spectacular. So this is from Jill. Jill sent this to me from Seattle, Washington. And check this out. Look at how beautiful. Be open to whatever comes next. I love this. The texture, and it's got dimension. Truly stunning. And Jill, thank you so very much for sharing your talent with me and with us. Next up, this lovely came from Nikki. Nikki comes from Idaho, and Nikki was a Card Maker Success Summit viewer, and that's how she found me, and she created this beautiful card based on my video. This was pearlescent spotlight embossing, and this is a stunner. Thank you, Nikki. It's absolutely beautiful. And absolutely not least, but not last, but not least, this is from Miss Carolyn. And Miss Carolyn comes from, let's see, New York. All right. And look at this beautiful card. She's given added dimension to the beautiful butterfly and a note of thanks. And thank you all. I'm tickled pink to have received mail from you, and thank you. I'm speechless. I'm truly speechless. So thank you, ladies. With a couple of my favorite backgrounds, I've gone ahead and used 3D embossing folders on them. This one with the flowers is a Lisa Horton embossing folder. I'm not sure if it's still available, but if I'm using anything that is still available, I will link them in the description box below. And the other one that I used was Tufted, and I believe that one's by Spellbinders. Now I'm just cutting down the first panel because I like a border on my cards for the most part. So I'm cutting this down to 5 inches by 3 3/4 inches. I make all of my own card bases. I use 100-pound accent opaque cardstock, and this got pretty expensive recently. And then I spotted the fact that they now offer it in 11 by 17 inch. So I get double the amount of cards out, my card bases and panels out of that for a lot better price. So that's my suggestion. If you like accent opaque, buy it in the larger size and cut it down. You can watch a movie, listen to a podcast, turn on the headset, whatever, and jam out to making your own card bases. Now, I have just used a simple stamped sentiment and popped it up on some foam tape to finish this one off. Simple and gorgeous. My second panel, I'm going to be doing some die cutting. This one is Sizzix Vault Wildflowers. It is one of my favorites, and I'm going to be placing a black layer beneath my colorful layer. And here's a great tip. Do some die cutting from that black layer. It doesn't have to be a solid layer. Nobody's ever going to see it. I adhere this layer with my trusty Barely Arts Precision Craft glue. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my tufted panel on top of that. Now for this one, I opted to use double-sided tape. I did not have enough foam tape, which is what I really wanted to do, but that's okay, we improvise. And I'm just using some scrapbook.com 1-inch double-sided tape to adhere this card panel down. I really like the black with this bright color because it makes everything really pop even more. So I'm just adhering my florals down. I like 3, so I've added 2 florals and a sentiment. Once again, it's the exact same sentiment. Cute. So many options for using the dip and drag technique. This is a partial embossed panel with white pigment ink. Simple black ink stamping. No coloring involved, my kind of card. This one's one of my favorite. I used a 3D embossed panel that I just tore the edges, die cut some of my sentiments. You can use punches, and here's some more of those beautiful sunflower die cuts. What else do you do with your background panels? Tell me in the comments below. And before you go, click on some other videos that I've selected just for you. Until next time, I'll see you real soon.